Hey, I'm going to explain how I got a video retweeted by Pat Flynn. So this is his book, Will It Fly? And Pat Flynn is, sorry, it's Reflecty, is the person behind Smart Passive Income, one of my favorite podcasts. In fact, it's what got me started in internet marketing in general. And I see we have Tismy on. Let me know if you could hear me in the chat. I think probably you can. This is a little bit of a digression from some of the other videos that I've done here in the recent past. I will share the tweet really quick, just so folks could see it. And I think the audio is working, so hopefully that's going well. Yeah, I think it is. Cool. So let me share my screen really quick, and I can share the tweet so I can get to the point of the stuff quickly. So thanks everyone for joining live. Where is it? Boom. There we go. So here you could see, this is my Twitter account. You can see this was the tweet that went out originally, right? This is a tweet that went out, and you could see that Pat Flynn right there retweeted it. So that's cool. Now, the funny thing is I suck at social media. I actually don't like social media that much. I try and, as much as I can, stay out of Facebook. I'm not too good with Twitter. I used to, try and participate a little bit, but there were just notifications that I was generally not interested in, and it was just a distraction. Now, I do a bad job at it. The funny thing is, I published a video, and I'll tell you about the video. I'll explain how I came up with the idea, how I executed on it quickly, and then how I was able to get Pat to even notice my video, right? He just went over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and obviously has a huge following with his podcast and his blog. And somehow I got him to notice it, which was cool. And he retweeted it. It was like good enough that he retweeted it. So if you're just joining, welcome. You may need to rewind and start at the beginning just to see the tweet again, although there is a link in the description. Now, the interesting thing is I went through the process to, figure out the topic. I executed well. Pat actually noticed it. And the grand result is basically no one really looked at the tweet. Right. So I was retweeted, but there are very few people that actually looked at it or even cared. Now, maybe the topic sucks, right? That's a valid thing. The topic could be not very interesting for very many people. But the real point is, I'm going to jump to the conclusion really quick, and I'll go deeper on it later. But basically, in our heads, we think maybe if we could just get the one break, like if, I remember when I first got started, if I could just get like Pat Flynn to retweet anything that I do, well, I've arrived. Like that means like tons of people will see it and people will know who I am, stuff like that. It'll change everything. Most of the time, nothing changes, right? Nothing changes. Now, there are some, occasions where like the one share, the one retweet, like put someone on the map. They were on Oprah or something like that. But at this point, there's so much like content in social media that a retweet is, not much, right? And I'll like tell you the stats in a few minutes because I can see some analytics and under 10 people, right? So I think it'll change once I publish this video, but basically under 10 people like clicked on, or I think that under 10 people even looked at the retweet, and then only like 1 or 2 people actually clicked on it. I think those clicks were actually me. So basically no one looked at it. It's not a bad thing, right? It implies that Pat Flynn knows that I'm making videos. That's good, right? That's generally a good thing. So it wasn't like a loss or anything like that or a waste of time, but it's an interesting case study. So I'm going to say hello to the kind people. We have Jaron, we have Emil, Stuart, Tismy can hear me well. D-Card's here, Arvind, big fan, awesome, Whisper, and Ravi. Okay, thanks everyone. It looks like we'll probably have a smaller crowd because it's kind of a slightly interesting a topic that is not as actionable in a lot of ways. But let me explain how I did this stuff. So I can show you a couple things, and I just want to make sure I follow along. So I'm going to talk about, and this I put this in the description so you could actually see the video that I did. I encourage you to, check it out. So I talk about making the video, executing the strategy to get Pat Flynn to notice my video. I never pinged him. I didn't do anything on my end. I never tried to contact him. And I would imagine if I did, it probably, he probably wouldn't have retweeted it because that would have been like really self-promotional. And then I've already told you, I hit the punchline really early and I told you why getting a mention or a retweet like that is probably not going to actually impact much at all. Now, it depends on what you're doing, but in general, every little step is like a very tiny incremental gain that you may not even notice. And I'm going to bring it down to a more general way. So if you're working on an Amazon affiliate niche site, every blog comment that you do or every email that you send trying to reach out to, someone in the niche, every time that you get a backlink, it may not make a difference. Each of those individual things probably not going to make a difference, but over time you'll get, better at what you're trying to do. And you may, right? You may reach the one person who can, give you a mention that does make a difference. Or obviously if Pat Flynn mentioned me in another context, then it would actually have been more, like if I was on his YouTube channel or on the podcast, well, then people would like pay more attention. But in the venue of Twitter on a retweet, no one's really going to notice. All right. So let me talk about the video and why I thought about doing this. So basically, here's the premise, right? So Pat Flynn has a show. I guess it's a series on his YouTube channel, and it's Tactics in a Tesla. Obviously, it's hugely derivative of comedians in cars getting coffee. That's a Seinfeld show. It's on Netflix. There's been a few seasons, and I haven't even watched the show, but I'm aware that it was out there. And I happen to be watching Seinfeld on Hulu all the way through from the beginning. I'm in like season 4 right now, and just rewatching it, right? So I'm thinking about Seinfeld a little bit, and I see Pat had one or two people in his Tesla, and I didn't pay attention to the interviews. And then one day I was like, I'm going to watch this interview with Sean Cannell, one of my, like, I'm a big fan of Sean Cannell, right? I've watched tons of his videos, like really insightful, seems like a really great guy. And I watched his and I thought it was great. And then I think Amy Landino, which I followed her when, she had her other brand. And that was a great interview too. And I was like, this is interesting. And I recalled a couple books where I was like, I can reference good insights from books that I've read and talk about why I think topics or tactics in a Tesla will be successful, because Pat is hitting on a couple things that are very key to have a successful series, right? The one that I talked about in the video was from a book called Invisible Influence. If that is one, yeah, Influence by Jonah Berger. And I go through an example, right? There were probably 5 or 6 examples that I could have picked from that book. There were other examples that I could have picked from a book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. There were other, just in general, there are lots of different examples that I could have picked, but I happened to pick, about horse heads. I picked something about horse heads. So if you haven't watched the video, check it out. I explain not real horse heads, they're wooden horse heads. So no horses are harmed in this example. But that was number 1. And then the other 2, right? I went over 3 points. The other 2 were just merely my insights that I wanted to share. Of course, those were derivative on other stuff too, that I, gathered from other books. But one of the key pieces of the content was around me referencing a book. Now, if you listen to podcast episodes of Smart Passive Income, or actually any podcast, or if you watch YouTube videos and people make really good points and they reference the book and mention the author, that's pretty authoritative, right? When I would listen to people that I look up to, like Ramit Sethi and Derek Halpern or Pat Flynn or fill in the blank, a lot of times they'll be able to give an example, cite a specific reference in a book, tell you the book, tell you the author, and man, it sounds like they know what the hell they're talking about. Because usually they do. If they can give an example like that, they know what they're talking about. And you know, I feel like I'm well read, just well read enough that I knew where to look in that book for such an example. Now I looked through a couple other books, right? But I did research. I did a couple hours of research trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to talk about. So that was like the content of the video. The other key thing I did is, go check out the video. You'll see in the title that I placed a like basically at Pat Flynn in the title, right? I've seen a few people do this, right? I think it's Evan Carmichael. He does entrepreneur type videos and good channel. Check it out. He does that for, people that he talks about. And the idea is if people tweet it, then they'll see it on their feed. Now, this is how I got Pat to notice. This is part 2. So the reason why Pat noticed, most likely, is I published a video and then I placed his Twitter @ handle, right? His Twitter handle in the title. So if anybody shared it on Twitter, Pat would get a notification in his feed. He was like, "Oh, someone just tagged me." So that's why he noticed. You don't need a ton of people, right? I did a video. That is my dog Georgie barking. This is real. This is live. Sorry. We could edit that out, right? So anyway, the thing is, you don't need a ton of people to retweet something, depending on who it is, right? Turns out a lot of influencers chat amongst each other in Twitter, but not that many other people do, to my knowledge. I don't spend much time in Twitter. But the point is, I did a live stream later that day, maybe the next day, and I just asked, I do lots of live streams just like this. So people are willing to do a little favor for me, like share the tweet. So if you shared the tweet, you helped me do this, right? So if you retweeted or you tweeted the video, then it tagged Pat. That's a good thing. So it's very interesting to be able to get someone's attention. Again, I'm so bad at Twitter that I didn't even realize he retweeted it for like 3 days. Kind of dumb, right? Because that was kind of what I was hoping. And I didn't think he would retweet it, to be honest with you. I just wanted him to see who I am, right? See that I put together a video and, it was kind of a compliment to me that he deemed it, the content good enough to retweet it and share it. I also did the editing on that video. So most of the time I don't do the editing because, well, it's not my strong suit. It takes me a long time, but I did the editing on that video. So it was just good enough for him to share. So that was the general execution. And that is how I got Pat to notice the video without me doing anything. Now, bonus is I created a playlist. So playlists are, what I'm told is playlists are underutilized on YouTube, but it's a great way to, get people to watch your channel. So I put together a playlist where, and you could add anyone's videos to your playlist, right? So I added the videos from this series from Pat's channel into a playlist. And I wrote a little description. It was keyword rich with tactics in a Tesla. So if someone searches for, by the way, if you're watching this now, you can search for tactics in a Tesla in YouTube and see what comes up. You'll probably see a couple of my videos and a playlist. So I can have a playlist where I put his videos, right? And then I slipped mine in there. I slipped mine in there too, just in case someone accidentally watches my playlist, and then they'll get, me explaining why it's a good series. And one of the other things, unlike this video and many of my other live streams, which ramble on forever, I'm not sure. I love it that everyone's watching, but it's a long time to watch these videos. This video that I did about tactics in a Tesla is about 6 minutes long or so. It's more concise, straight to the point. I tried to edit it hard where if it was an optional sentence, I cut it out, right? So I cut out as much fat as I could. And actually, it may be 3 minutes. I can't remember. It is much shorter than a normal video that I put out because I just wanted to get to the point. I want people to watch it. And I know there's some threshold. If it's over 10 minutes, some people just opt out. They're like, I don't want to watch this whole thing. I don't have time for it. Honestly, I'm kind of like that too. I depending on who it is, they really have to earn my trust if I'm going to watch a long video. So just to recap, number one, I came up with, I had an interesting original observation on a current video that, someone that I follow, they put it out, and I thought, I have an interesting insight based on what I know. And also, I could back it up with information from books that I know are popular in the entrepreneur, niche, right? So I know that people have heard of the book Invisible Influence, and I'm going to reference it right away. Additionally, in the video title, I placed the @ the Twitter handle for Pat Flynn in there. And then later on, I asked some people in my audience to share the video if they thought it was interesting on Twitter, and they did. Pat noticed, he retweeted it. Now, the overall scheme of things, that didn't make the video explode. In fact, there's fewer views on that video, to my knowledge, right now. There's fewer views on that video right now than most of my other videos that I published in the last week. It's a very small sliver of a topic, right? But all is not lost. It means Pat noticed me. It means my content is, good enough for him to have retweeted it. And all those are good things. It didn't make anything blow up. My life didn't change because of it. And just remember that if you're thinking, hey, if I could just do X, it may or may not be as helpful as you think. So just remember that. Okay. I'm going to hit some questions here. If there are any, anyone have questions out there? And Rose is on. What's up? Duke's on as well. John says you did book reviews for your niche. They contacted the authors that you mentioned them in the article, and they shared it on their Facebook page or asked me for an article. That's cool. Really, that's awesome. And a lot of times, all you have to do is ask. Especially with authors. They want to promote their books, right? So if you reach out to them, that's a really good way to go. And John, I was going to say for yours, where they mention your site on the Facebook page, or ask for an article, that kind of stuff, that could make a huge difference. My Twitter idea, it was fine, but at the end of the day, it's not the most effective way to get shares, get more views. So, and Duke has great insight on this. People are thinking, hey, if I could just go viral, then everything would be fine. And it turns out not true. And Duke says it's wrong. It comes and then goes in a week. You never saw a ranking boost from it. And Duke has had, sites go viral before. And yeah, that is totally true. If you don't have a reason for people to stay, and I have a good example of someone who made it work. So there's a YouTuber named Sarah Dietschy, and she does great content, great videos. I watch quite a few of them, but she did sort of a parody video on Casey Neistat, which went viral. Casey noticed it, right? I think other people told Casey it was really funny. Casey watched it, then he shared it. And I think her channel went from I can't remember exactly, but it went from 4,000 people, right? 4,000 subscribers to like 100,000 in like a week or something like that. Now, granted, Casey shared her stuff, told people to check it out. He had, millions of viewers at that, subscribers at that time. Lots of people saw it. And the key part is like Sarah had the back catalog of content where it was good, right? She had done hundreds of videos before that, or at least dozens. I'm not 100% sure what she had on her channel, but she had enough previous content that was in the right genre for that audience that people stuck around, and her channel is like growing a lot, right? So she has like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And it's because when the viral stuff happened for her, she had already like refined her skills. She had lots of good content, and she had done all the work for years ahead of time to get to that point. So her channel didn't explode like all of a sudden. It was like a buildup for a while, and then someone noticed her. So it's totally possible, but like it just has to be like everything in the right order at the right time for everyone involved. Now, the other part, I had another decent point, but okay. Any other thoughts on this? Any other questions? But that I'll tell you the stats real quick because I can see the analytics, I believe, somewhere. I thought. All right, I'm gonna have to find the link again, but okay, yeah. Any other questions out there? And well, it looks like I can't see the analytics right now. Not sure why, but the point is, very few people actually did anything to help the video after it was retweeted. So interesting experience overall, but it didn't make the channel blow up. Nothing crazy happened. So, okay. All right. If you're asking a question, I see D-Card ask a question. If it's an unrelated question, I'm just going to skip it for now because it doesn't fit with the content here, but I'll answer it on Friday. Friday is a general Q&A. So sorry, D-Card, but it's just so incongruent with what we're going over today that I'm not going to answer that today. Sorry. Other people in the chat probably know what I use, so feel free, other folks, to answer that question. All right, I'm gonna cut it short today and do some work. So everybody have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, Friday is a general Q&A, and then I'll answer whatever random questions you have. Then it's 10 a.m. Mountain Time. There is a way to get a reminder. So if you go to my channel, go to the homepage of the channel, you'll see it's already scheduled. So you could say, click on something for a reminder, and then you'll get a reminder about it. So 10 a.m. Mountain Time. All right, we'll catch you later. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.